Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Living with Intention. My name is Kieran, and today I'm going to be talking about how expectations lead to disappointment. Now, going into 2020 was a year where I'm sure a lot of you had expectations of what 2020, what that new decade was going to look like, where you might go, where you might be, what you might start doing. I had ideas of where, I was going to go travel for a bit, or what I was going to experience, where I was going to be with my friends. And as I'm sure you experienced, there was a very firm moment at the start of the year where suddenly those expectations of what was going to happen had to be put on hold. They had to be cancelled. That idea of expectations had to be let go of and had to face the real reality that actually this thing that I imagined was going to happen in the future isn't coming around. It's not going to happen in the capacity that I envisaged it. And so often we can place our energy and our emotions and our excitement into these future events, future states. And what we realize is that when we give that and it doesn't happen, we can actually end up being quite disappointed and almost feel like we've lost something because we create this sense of having it already, like it already existed for us, that it was inevitable. And that is why I think 2020 has really taught us a lesson. We all may have expected certain things to happen this year. We may have, expected growth in certain areas, and instead we've been delivered it in another form, another capacity of growth, which is still important, but not what we had in mind. So if we go into, and I think we've all probably realized this, living more in the present, living for the now, knowing that something might be coming up, but not having our hopes or not having, all this energy placed into this is going to be the most amazing trip, or I can't wait for this person's birthday because I'm going to see all these people and it's going to be amazing to see them, I'm going to be so excited. It doesn't mean that we can't be excited for things, but we can't place all this, energy and all this expectation into it, because if it doesn't happen, we will just leave ourselves feeling disappointed. And that is again another importance of being in the present, being in the now, and just being able to surrender and accept. And this year has also been about surrendering and accepting everything that has come and everything that has been. So that's also an aspect of it. So that's one aspect of expectations and disappointment. And another that we often find is that we put expectations on people. We have expectations of our friends, our parents, our boyfriend, girlfriend, our, bosses. We have expectations of how people should show up based on our understanding of the world and based on who we think they are. And if that person doesn't show up in that way, we get disappointed. But this person is not what we project them to be and what we think they should be. They are their own person who has their own stories, their own beliefs, and they are doing what they believe is best. And that might not align with what we expect or how we expect them to treat us, what we expect from them, how we expect them to show up. But that expectation we're placing on them is ours to deal with, not theirs. And I think some people can find this difficult, the idea of expectation when it comes to people. So I just want to clarify that you're allowed to have, of course, boundaries. You can have boundaries that if people overstep, you're going to challenge them. You're going to say, look, this is my boundary. You've crossed it here. That is very different from an expectation. An expectation is, this is how this person is going to show up because this is what I think is important. What you think is important might not be important to them in the same capacity that it is to you. But if you think it is, and if you're saying it is, then they're going to show up in this space not on the same page as you. So it's really important that we can distinguish from the expectations there. But if you have a boundary and someone oversteps that, say they say something to you that is unacceptable, then you stepping into the space to challenge them onto that and to say, look, you said this isn't right. It's not that you had an expectation, it's that you have a clear set of boundaries that they can't cross. And if they do, then you challenge them, and if that, if it needs to go and you need to not be with that person, that's also fine. But this is the importance, is we're not setting expectations, because expectations lead to disappointment. If I imagine someone is something they are not and they don't show up in that way, of course I'm going to be disappointed. If I imagine something's going to happen this year and I expect it to happen in the way that I imagine, then of course I'm going to be disappointed. But if I just go through and say, okay, cool, well I've got this event that's going on later this year, let's just see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen between now and that event, but let's see. If it goes on, awesome, let's go with it. If it doesn't, then maybe there's a reason, maybe there's another flow, maybe there's some other opportunity here, maybe it will happen further down the line. I think what we're seeing is that there's been a lot of negative things that have happened this year, or negative, there's been good and bad, however you want to look at that. And there have been some challenging spaces created, and there's been some opportunities created. And I think it is important that we look for those opportunities, look at what is presented and look at the reality that is presented in front of us. You know, not clinging on to the expectations of what we had or what we thought we had, and just going with the flow. That surrender, that acceptance makes it a lot easier just to go with that, rather than constantly feeling like we've been thrown out of line with what was potentially meant for us or what we thought, you know, we had in store. So yeah, this is one of the most important lessons I've personally felt like I've learned this year. I've had to let go of a lot of expectations. I've had to stop expecting, you know, and I think we all started to get used to this, you know, with lockdowns and what was going on. We just had to rein in our expectations and just go with the flow. And I think that's a really healthy attitude to have to life, is yes, we can be excited for something coming, but don't put all your energy into it. Don't put, you know, if it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. But, you know, you can adapt to that, you can change, and then see what can go beyond that, or what opportunity that brought with it because that thing didn't happen. So yeah, this is one of the most important lessons I feel I've learned this year. Maybe it's something that you found you've learned. And like I said, expectations lead to disappointment, and your expectations of people, that's just, you know, that's not necessarily who they are, that's your expectation. But if you're setting boundaries and people are crossing those, that's not necessarily the same as an expectation, and you should honor and respect your own boundaries in that space. That's the gist of it. That's what we're talking about. Let me know how you found the video. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on this. Have you had any challenges with this year? Let me know of an example. Let me know, yeah, what you think about it. And the phrase, expectations lead to disappointment. If you liked the video, shoot it a like. If you want to subscribe. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands. I hope you didn't expect something different, but subscribe if you want, like the video if you want, leave a comment. And yeah, I love talking about these things. I love this idea of living with intention, and I'm just looking forward to putting out more videos for you all. Have a wonderful week, and I shall see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day. Bye.